I'm good. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the clergy and all of you for allowing me to speak today. I feel like it's an honor. Um, so Sunam, yes, had asked me how long ago was it? Like months, I think, when this was first brought up, and um, it was a mix of emotions. Initially, it was an honor. Like, wow, I'm being asked to give a Dharma talk, and like, I don't feel worthy, like imposter syndrome and all that. And then the fear set in big time because even though I know all of you, I have a huge fear of public speaking that's like crippling. And so I avoid it at all costs. So I was thinking about what I was going to speak about. Initially, I was thinking to talk on the topic of right speech. But then again, the fear was so prominent. I think it was here in one of my meditations, like, you know what, like, I think I'll talk about fear, fear itself as a topic. So that's what I'm going to aim to do. Um, so I thought I would start with just, again, kind of a story of how I came to Buddhism, and that actually has to do with fear, my own fears. So I have, unfortunately, a pretty intimate connection with fear and anxiety that goes way back for me. When I was 9 years old, I remember it very quite vividly still to this day. I was in the dressing room with my mom at Saks Fifth Avenue, um, and I had a massive panic attack. It was kind of like a out of body experience, where I almost felt like I was kind of watching down upon myself, but just a complete terror. And my face like flushed bright red, and my mom, like, she didn't know what was wrong with me. She thought I was having an allergic reaction, so she freaked out, which made me even more scared. And so that was the start of it. And after that point, I started having these regular panic attacks. What I now know as a panic attack, at the time I had no idea, no words for it. I just knew it was this like terrifying experience that would really overcome me. And when I would have one, then um, I would be fearful of having another one. And so it was not only just a random fear, stress, it was fear of fear itself, like at a like maximum level. And so I went through most of my childhood, adolescence, into my kind of early adult life in this way. And I didn't tell anyone about it. Not even my parents, no one knew about it. So I was kind of living my life um, in this fearful, very alone state. I thought if I told someone about it, my parents, like, I honestly thought I was going crazy. Like, if I told them, they were going to send me away. Um, and so I just kind of tried to deal with it in my own way. Um, and then it finally was when I was dating my now ex-husband, and he's like, like, maybe it's anxiety. And then, like, he got me some information, and I'm reading about it. I'm like, oh wow, like, yeah, this sounds like this is what's going on. And it was a relief, like, okay, like, there's a name for it, and actually I'm not so alone. Like, there's other people that experience these kind of things, and I can get help for it. And even so, it still took quite a lot of like encouragement to even be able to tell my parents, which I finally did. And they then at age 20 set me up with a therapist. And so that was the start of my journey to kind of start working through this anxiety. And so initially in therapy, you kind of learn this kind of cognitive behavioral techniques to actually learn about what's going on, and then there's techniques to learn to get over the panic and the anxiety. So I initially was able to kind of work with it and get through the panic relatively quickly. But since then, and I continue to go to therapy now, like it's a day by day journey that it's part of who I am. And it creeps in from time to time. This fear is still here. And so I guess it was kind of early on in my journey with all of this that, I became curious, like, what else can I do besides therapy to help ease my fears and work through this? So that is what led me to Buddhism initially. So I was 21. Um, I went to the Borders bookstore and picked up this teeny little book on Buddhism and read about the Buddhist story. And um, I felt very much in alignment with it. And so it was not this temple, but I went to a different temple and started regularly practicing there. And even initially, it's funny when I think back, we had there, it was more like a guided meditation where you're doing metta meditation, but there was long periods of silence too. But even in that, um, I felt fear. It was like uncomfortable to just sit. I didn't quite know what to do with that. And I would get like heartburn and I would be feeling very uncomfortable. But I continued to work with it. Um, and so one of the books that I read in regards to Buddhism and fear was Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, which probably a lot of you guys have read. It's a fantastic book, and I really, really like her work. And so I want to read a little excerpt from her book. She says, "Fear is a universal experience. Even the smallest insects feel it. We wade in the tidal pools and put our finger near the soft, open bodies of sea anemones, and they close up. Everything spontaneously does that. It's not a terrible thing that we feel fear when faced with the unknown. It's part of being alive, something we all share. We react against the possibility of loneliness, of death, of not having anything to hold on to. Fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to truth." I really like that line. We commit ourselves to staying right where we are, then our experience becomes very vivid. Things become very clear when there is nowhere to escape. And so that's a big part of the Buddhist practice, is having first the awareness of fear or whatever state we're in, having that awareness, and then learning with time to stay present with it, to have that awareness. And it's certainly easier said than done when you're really in the state of significant fear, anxiety. Um, but even in looking at the Buddha himself, when Buddha faced a lot of things in his own journey towards enlightenment, and even when he's sitting under the Bodhi tree and Mara, the demons, are kind of coming at him, um, he sat with it, he stayed with it, and eventually, as we all know, he reached that enlightenment and was able to share his work, the path, with all of us. Um, Here, myself at Muddy Water Zen, which has really become a place of respite for me, for my anxiety over the years. Um, I've had some interesting experiences in meditation, and about 12 years ago now, and this was like post my divorce, so lots going on within, and I would just come here and just, you know, go deep into meditation. And then at one point, I had an experience that was scary. Like, it was extremely deep within the meditation. I started like kind of almost seeing visions and experiencing these deep sensations in my body. And it was quite overwhelming. I didn't know what was going on. Again, I'm thinking like, am I going crazy? What is going on? But I remembered Pema Chodron, and again, in this book she talks about, I think it's in this book where there's a story of a monk, and there's a group of monks, and they're walking in this temple grounds, and there's this guard dog that's vicious and on a leash, and they're afraid of it initially, and then that guard dog kind of breaks loose from his leash and starts charging at them. And the one monk, the others maybe run away, but the one, like, he looks at it straight in the face and he charges forth right at it, because you're going into the fear. And so within that meditation I had here, that was kind of what I thought, okay, no, like, I'm just going to stay with it. I'm just going to kind of try to go into it. And that's what I did, um, in that moment. And another teacher, Mirabai Starr, who I think is really fantastic, she talks about, in Buddhism, there's two wings. So the one wing is the awareness, to have your mindfulness and awareness. And the second wing is to have the loving compassion, loving kindness and compassion. And going back to Pema, she says sitting with fear without having compassion for it is warfare, which is a powerful statement, but it's true when you think about it, because if you're just sitting with fear alone without having some kind of compassion for yourself, you can drive yourself crazy with it, and it is very much like being at war. And so, what to do about fear, as we've talked about, staying with it, giving compassion. This is easier said than done. um, I have found over the years that sometimes it can be too hard to just sit when you're in this state. Maybe you're feeling restless and things. So that might be a time to try to walk, like to go to have like a walking meditation, so to speak. Get out in nature, breathe some fresh air, and just walk and try your best to just be present and stay with your experience. Um, Finding a safe space. So whether it be here at Muddy Waters Inn, at your home, under a tree in the park, finding a space that you feel comfortable to kind of confront some of these difficult things in your life. And then I wanted to close out with one practice that kind of, for me, has been very helpful, that I like to use when times are difficult, and that is Tara Brach, who is an insight meditation teacher. She teaches the practice of RAIN. And so RAIN is an acronym. The R stands for you recognize. So again, you can do this when you're in meditation or just mentally in your mind, but you just sit back and you recognize, what is happening right now. Like if it is fear, anxiety, you recognize I'm having that right now. The A is to allow the experience. So like, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to sit here with it. I'm going to allow it. She says, which I love, like, I'm going to invite it to tea, whatever that experience is. The I stands for investigate. So you're going to investigate, with interest and care, what is the underlying, maybe, core beliefs of what's going on with you right now, and what are you feeling in your body. Where are you feeling, if it is fear, where are you feeling the fear in your body? How is it affecting your body? And then the N, is nurture. So to nurture with self-compassion, and to think about, who would I be without this mask of fear, or whatever it might be. Um, who would I be if I am not at war with myself? So I encourage all you to, next time you're feeling uncomfortable, instead of the normal tendency to run away, which is what I did for a large portion of my life. Those panic attacks, I would just run away, try to get away from that sensation, try to stay, try to be kind to yourself. Thank you so much.